It begins with us playing complementary football. If one side of the ball is struggling, the other side of the ball needs to be able to pick it up, and we weren't able to do that. Like I said, I take full responsibility as the head football coach for everything that happens in this building, and it starts with me to identify the problems, work to correct those problems, and to fix those problems, and that's what we're working on this week. I had a very clear and direct message with our team, and I'm going to say it again here to y'all. One bad day doesn't define our team or our season. Our response will. There's going to be bad days. You're going to have, you're not always going to have peak performance as much as we would like to. It doesn't have to define us, but we do have to respond, and we do have to respond in a better manner. And how we respond will define who we are as a team and what kind of character we have as a program. The second thing I told them is ignore the noise. There's always going to be narratives. There's always going to be criticisms. There's always going to be opportunities to point the finger. That really doesn't have anything to do with us. Our opportunity is to respond, ignore the noise, embrace the brotherhood. The best always tell themselves the truth. You have to tell yourself the truth of your performance on Saturday. You have to take responsibility for that, and you have to find a way to beat UMass. And that's really the focus for us the rest of this week is how do we improve and find a way to beat UMass. And that's going to be a difficult challenge. They're better than their 1-4 record. I think Coach Brown is instilling in those guys a competitive nature. They've had the lead in their 4 losses. They've had the lead in the third and fourth quarter. In the one game that they did not have the win the lead in the fourth quarter, it was a 1-possession game with the ball in the fourth quarter. So they're clearly learning what Coach is trying to instill in them. They have talented players on both sides of the ball. Coach Brown is the defensive coordinator. His schemes have been tremendous wherever he's been, whether you're talking about Michigan, Arizona, or now the head coach at the University of Massachusetts. Very multiple in the way that he attacks. He's got multiple fronts, multiple coverages, multiple blitz schemes, and I'm sure that we're going to get the full force of that defensively. On the offensive side of the ball, Shane Montgomery is their offensive coordinator. I've known Shane. He was an NC State graduate, so got a chance to meet him when I was at North Carolina State. Does a tremendous job of keeping a balanced offense while attacking. His quarterback, Tyson Fumachang, is playing his best football. Tyson was a highly recruited player out of the Connecticut area, signed with Clemson out of high school, was Elite 11, and suffered a couple of injuries, transferred back to UMass. He's playing, like I said, his best ball, accurate thrower, very good. I think he's their leading rusher also, so he's a dual threat quarterback. So for us defensively, we're going to have our hands full. We're going to need to play better defensively, more simplistic, more attacking, and better tackling. And then in the special teams area, I did think there were some positives from Saturday, but we got to continue to build on those positives. And like I said, we're going to have our hands full in a unique environment. Excited to get an opportunity to go to Amherst. It'll be an opportunity for us to play in a stadium that's unique from us, an opportunity to play in an area of the country that most of us have not been. And so I think it'll be a cool experience and one that our players will find enjoyment and satisfaction in being able to take on that challenge. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Eli, along the lines of what you said at the beginning, when you look back specifically at the defensive film, was that execution errors? Was that a schematic game plan issue going in, especially based on maybe the quarterback you anticipated playing?
Yeah, I'll refer back. I think we all take responsibility for the issues on Saturday. Schematically and execution-wise, at the end of the day, it falls on my shoulders to make sure it's better, and our focus is leading up to UMass. We make no excuses about it. Shouldn't have mattered who was playing at the quarterback position. We should have been better, and we need to focus this week on stopping this quarterback and figuring out our scheme so that we can execute at a higher level.
Well, do you find that your team, you kind of talked about that response, do you find that your team responds best to that foxhole mentality kind of thought process?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't had to face this challenge yet this year. We're a program that I believe hadn't suffered a loss since last October. So, it's an opportunity for this team to figure it out. You got new staff, new players. I know the way that I'm going to handle it. I know the way the guys that have been here know how I'm going to handle it. The sky is not falling. We had a poor performance. It doesn't have to define us. What we have to do is respond, and how you respond is do your job, focus on the core values that we've instilled, lean into your elite edge, energy, details, grit, and emotional consistency. Ignore the outside narrative and come in here and go back to work. And it's really that simple. We all have a perfection dream, but that's not reality. So when you come up short, it doesn't have to define you. It just has to push you to grow.
Just back to the defense for a second. What can you do to generate more pressure? Like it seemed that was a little bit lacking on Saturday.
It was obviously a lot lacking. I think it's a combination of getting better pass rush and creating better pass rush through schematics. So again, there's a lot of different things that we can do and challenge ourselves to do in order to be better, and that's what we'll do this week.
Coach, on kind of the opposite side of that with allowing pressure, what's the level of concern with how much pressure Brady was under, and you know, what are the steps you want to see with the line, especially into that left side?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to we all accept responsibility for the issues of Saturday. There was a lot of things that went bad. Our inability to get into an offensive rhythm because of our lack of execution on third downs. We were in predominantly third and long, which allows them to get into a heavy blitz package, contributed to the issues there. I'm not specifically concerned with any one side of the ball or the left side or the right side. I'm concerned with, as the head football coach, making sure that our team is working to improve and making sure that our schemes put us in a better position for our players to execute. I'm not pointing the finger at any of those guys.
So then is it a scheme thing with some of the pressure?
No, it's when unable to get into a rhythm, we were unable to run the football. We were unable to establish a back and forth game because of the way that we started, which is, you know, what I said when we opened. We didn't start very good. Third downs contributed to them continually scoring and us not being able to answer that, which then allows them to pressure the quarterback because they don't have any fear for the run game. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody other than myself.
If you noticed any difference in the quarterback run game this year to last year, I mean, whether it's physically or execution with Brady's ability with his legs?
You know, the first third down of the game was a quarterback run that we, you know, just didn't quite get run the way we wanted to. But I thought Brady did a really good job of scrambling and creating first downs. One of them was called back in a penalty in the first half for illegal formation. But I haven't seen or noticed anything other than maybe we haven't been hyper-focused on doing that just because we've been giving Nate and Marcus those carries. But I do think it's something we could see more in the future just to give him more rhythm and get him into a better flow of the game.
There are a lot of people who seem to be asking, are you comfortable, he's fully healthy and everything's okay physically with him?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I've asked him. He's fully healthy.
How did you feel like your guys responded vocally after that first loss? You said you haven't lost since October. This is another something to prove test for this team. But what did you like about what guys were saying in the locker room afterwards and now this week of practice?
You know, it's always really tough in a locker room after a game because you come face to face with something that you never expect. You don't go into a game expecting that, and you really don't go into a game expecting the way it turned out. And so the locker room's always a really tough place. But what gives me a lot of confidence in our football team and our staff is the way we handled ourselves after the game. There wasn't finger pointing. There was not assigning blame. There was no, we call it BCD, blame, complain or defend poor performance. There was a responsibility and accepting of, hey, I had ownership in this, and it starts with me, and we got to work to improve. And that's how you bounce back. That's how you ignore the noise. You don't deflect. You don't place blame on anybody else. You take responsibility for it.
Coach, when you say the responsibility of the game falls on your shoulders, what does that reflection process look like for you throughout the week, and how do you grow from games like that?
Yep. You look at everything. You look at the preparation, the travel, the practice plans. I think you have to be steady in your approach and understand that, again, one bad day doesn't define a season, and the people who I think run into the most trouble are the ones who jerk the steering wheel too fast. You know, a slight adjustment can change the direction and angle of a football team. And so I think what we have to look for is what were the problems? Is there a deeper problem? Is there a one issue problem? What are the problems? How do we find solutions to those? And you know, in all three phases, we identified a few problems. It's my job to enforce the accountability that those get fixed, and that's what we're going to do.
How do you approach the reducing the penalties, especially those ones that wipe out a first down or a touchdown that are key penalties?
Yep. They were key penalties. You do a great job of coaching the things that should be coached and ignoring the things that don't have to be coached. We have officials here on Wednesdays, and we have to do a better job of making sure that when those guys point out issues, we handle it. You know, offensive linemen not aligned on the line of scrimmage is a head coach issue. And so that's my responsibility, and I haven't done a good enough job of enforcing that and maintaining discipline on that. So that's on me to fix. In the other ones, there you go.
Coach, you guys had 3 design runs before you guys went down 17-0. So would there be more of a concerted effort to get the run game going sooner?
3 design runs. I'm trying to think of the sequence we went. We went pass, run, 4th down. And then we came out, pass, RPO, pass, 2nd 15, pass. There needs to be a more concerted effort to find an offensive rhythm. And so whether or not that is creating or designing runs, we need to play with better rhythm. And looking back, you know, whether it's tempo runs, which I think we've been effective in, or design quarterback runs, it comes back to us finding our offensive identity, which is rhythm, attack, execute, playing with rhythm, controlling the tempo of the game, having an attacking style offense, which I thought the first play of the game was very attacking. We just got to continue to capitalize on that. So I don't specifically go back to the game plan and say, you know, there should have been a more concerted effort to find runs. I think there's got to be a more concerted effort to find a rhythm for us to stay on the field.
A lot of talk about how you respond after that game, but curious what you thought of the team's response to adversity in game and how you improved that going forward, assuming you didn't love the response you saw.
Yeah, you know, again, I didn't see anything on the film that told me we had a lack of effort, and I'm keenly aware to look for that because that would tell me that there's a deeper issue. We did not respond in either side of the ball with making the plays that we needed to, which again goes back to, did we put those guys in the right situations on offense or defense, which is my responsibility. And we just weren't able to land that counter punch. I thought we did, you know, obviously, but it got taken off the board. And again, we have to respond in a better manner. I think we all see that, recognize that, take responsibility for that.
Coach, it seemed like there was more of a split between Toriano and Nick DeLoach at that corner spot in past games. Was that, a one-off thing, or are you expecting
Nope.
a little more competition?
I expect more competition from every position on our football team because at the end of the whole thing, number one core value is always compete. And if we're not playing at the level we want to play, then everybody else has got to compete. We have to compete as coaches in order to raise the level that we want to play at. So maybe going back to Gabe's question, you know, I thought Jalen Marshall came in the third quarter and made a couple of really nice plays for us defensively, which helped us secure the run game. I think Nick DeLoach and Toriano have done a better job rotating and competing, and I think you're going to see that more and more because we need to compete to get the best out of our team.
Eli, kind of on a similar note of what you were talking about with offense needing to do a better job of getting to rhythm to establish that identity.
Yep.
What have you seen from all three phases that they have done consistently well that you think you can
build an identity off of?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the special teams unit, we've consistently covered kicks really well. You look at our return, our coverage units. I think those guys have done an excellent job. I think Luke's punting the ball at a really high level. I think our kicking game is growing in its consistency. Defensively, I think we've got some challenges there to bounce back from last week, and again, we'll have to decide what that is moving forward. I think we've always been a team that prides ourselves on being an attacking style football team, and we've got to get back to that. Offensively, I know we can run the football. I know we can run the football effectively, and we've got to be able to be explosive vertically down the field. And so, we got to figure out how to continue to run the football to force people to defend us, which allows us to create explosive pass plays. And we just weren't able to do that Saturday, and we'll get back to it.
Coach, it seemed like the broadcast was finding Luther on the sideline a lot because they have that way of going about things. But is that something that you have conversations with him or other guys about, just sideline demeanor and that those things get picked up and what that can mean?
It's the first I've heard of it. Yeah. I'll be honest, I ignore the noise. There's nobody on our team that's questioning Luther's motivation, drive, determination to help us win. I think everybody saw him competing for catches at the end of the game. I think we were all disappointed. I hope they didn't have a video of me on the sideline the entire game because my facial expressions would have shown disappointment in our performance. But again, I ignore the outside narrative and noise, focus in on our team and what the beliefs of our team are. We believe what we believe about each other because we see what we see every day in this environment. And we're all competitors. If we all wanted it to be different, it wasn't. We created that issue. So it's our job to respond this week.
Eli, I saw a quote from Brent Venables today just before you walked in. He said he thinks the biggest challenge of NIL in the portal era is getting guys to buy in every single week. Do you think that's any different than it's been 3-4 at the beginning of your head coaching career, getting that buy-in?
I think that's probably a larger discussion for a different time. My focus right now is just trying to get my team to buy in to responding to how we played last week and finding a way to beat UMass. And there's nothing within what I've seen within my team that says we're not going to do that. So our job as coaches is to find a way to get our guys to motivate to practice today. We need to have a great Toughness Tuesday.
Coach, when you look at Keenan James, the receiver for UMass, what do you think has contributed to a successful season with almost 500 yards receiving a team that got people right?
Jacoby James?
Yeah.
Number 11? Yeah, they do an excellent job taking RPOs, which starts with their free access throws. And then off of their free access throws, they have a lot of double moves. And I think Shane's done a really good job of creating a feel where you have to feel like you're attacking the first move, and then he does a good job moving the quarterback in the pocket or building a 7-man protection and giving him time. Obviously, on the one of the big third downs in the first half, we bought on the double move, which created an issue down the field, which led to a big explosive play. That's an issue that we have, and we're going to have to figure out how to take that off the tape. So that's going to be a cat and mouse game for us. Obviously, we want to play aggressive, but we also can't bite on double moves, and that's going to be part of the game plan this week. I guarantee it against us.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris.